Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of Union Power. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown, better known as Bob TV. That's what everybody know me as, Bob TV. And it is now 2021. I've been trying to go live, and it's been irking me, and I'm not able to do it. So I'm going to have to pre-record this. As you know, this is pre-recorded. Now, in the midst of a financial crisis, a pandemic of epic proportion, and a media that likes to, propagandize and like to skew and like to spin narratives, how do you get through the truth? Right here. I've combined Union Matters with the Rob Report. Oftentimes there'll be a Union Matter segment, and this is a Union Matter segment of the Rob Report. As a union organizer, as a negotiator in union negotiations, I've seen the insides and outsides. I'm also a business owner. I have a small business also. And I believe in prosperity. I believe in, I'm not a socialist and I'm not 100% capitalist. I follow some capitalistic ways and I follow some socialism ways. You could never lock me in a box because I'm a hybrid. I'm open. I believe you should have your own business. I believe you should have I believe you shouldn't have to depend on a job. And I also believe you shouldn't have to depend on your federal government. But with you investing in your federal government, you should get the most out of your federal government, not the people who work at the federal government, but you. Same thing as you invest your time, energy, and effort on a job. You should be able to get something from that job. You should be able to strike value from that job. So one of the things when they ask me, when I come in for a job interview, they want to talk about the pay. The pay is okay with me, but I want to know what I'm going to become here. What will I become here? Because I don't want to just take the job and this job not affect who I become going forward. I want something that's going to enhance my life, not take away my life. Now, I know you're saying, Rod, where are we going with this? Today is Sunday, January 3rd, 2021. They're about to vote for Nancy Pelosi for House Speaker. And today is crunch time. Because no matter how much you try to make excuses, politicians, AOC on down, for why you shouldn't have to put the heat on the neck of Nancy Pelosi, you need to put the heat on the neck of Nancy Pelosi. Now I'm going to talk about that in another segment. Right now I want to talk about some things that has happened in New York. And let me pull it up. We're not going to talk about that right now, but we're going to talk about this. There was a bill in the Senate called the Healthy Terminal Act. As a representative of 32BJ working at the airport at JFK, working in Terminal 8, trying to organize workers to throw their support behind this Healthy Terminal Act, trying my best to get them to sign the Healthy Terminal Act support card so we can just slam millions or at least hundreds of thousands of workers. See, there's thousands of workers, I say almost 100,000 workers at JFK International Airport, at EWR, which is New Jersey Airport, and at LaGuardia. We worked hard just to get people to try to sign these cards. You understand that folks walk in fear because they fear that one of their boss or one of the boss kiss-ups will report them for signing something that will benefit them, that would enhance their life? They fear their job. When in reality, they need to come together as a collective, as one unit, and make the job fear them. Power without a demand concedes nothing. You have to have a demand in order to concede power. And the Healthy Terminal Act was a demand. Now, just to let you know a couple of things we worked on. 32BJ, TWU, and a lot of unions came together at the airport along with and decide to bypass the corporations at the airport because they don't own the airport. Port Authority to do. And in order for them to stay at the airport, they have to be beholden to the law of Port Authority. Port Authority runs the airport. They're just leasing space at the airport. They don't do right by Port Authority. Port Authority will kick them out of the airport and let another airline come in. So what the unions decide to do, let's bypass the companies, which is a smart move, and let's just deal with Port Authority themselves. And that's what we did. We dealt with Port Authority themselves. We rallied against Port Authority, threatened to strike against Port Authority, threatened to shut the airport down. Now, this is key for anybody else that's working in the airport in major metropolitan areas and, suburban areas. Because Miami need to catch up. Tampa need to catch up. Chicago need to catch up. LA need to catch up. New York is doing the doggone thing. We put the pressure from them to change the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, when the governor put the $15 an hour on the board, airport workers felt they deserved more than that. So what we push for $19 an hour by 2023. It is 2021 right now. In 2 more years, it will be the minimum wage at the airport, $19 an hour. I don't care if you're selling toothpaste. I don't care if you're making coffee. I don't care. It doesn't matter. The minimum wage will be $19 an hour. Now, what's going to happen is a lot of people who are too good to work at the airport all of a sudden going to become good enough to work at the airport because they know nowhere in this country there's going to be a minimum wage of working $19 an hour in a particular territory in a region. And I consider airports a territorial region. If you know how big JFK is with all these terminals, it's like a freaking city within the city. You're not going to find $19 an hour minimum wage. But in a couple of years, it'll be a minimum wage, $19. I don't care if you're pushing the wheelchair. I don't care if you're cleaning the bathrooms or whatever. All of these are great jobs. Don't you dare think there's no such thing as a minimal job, a minimal job. A honest, hard-working job is a good job. I don't care what it is. Now, the $19 was not enough because, as you can see, a lot of airlines are being so-called hit because of COVID because they're not able to take on the amount of passengers they normally take. They're not able to run the amount of airlines back and forth from various countries and various airports in the United States because of COVID. So they put in for aid. Mind you, prior to this, companies like Ulan of America, TW, United Airlines and American Airlines all was sitting on record profits. Yet, instead of spending their money to keep their people employed, they want to sit on their money and ask the federal government for some money. Now, mind you, this money belonged to the American people, and they're asking the federal government to give it to them, and these federal government knuckleheads in the House and Senate and the presidency are obliging these people who are sitting on record profit, but yet they're laying out people, telling them to go home, stay home because you need to stay healthy, and they're not even giving them half. They're laying them off and they have to file for unemployment and they're only getting half, and that's why the supplement means a lot. Most major countries are giving their people a stipend every month until this thing is over. Canada's giving people over $2,000 a month. Month after month after month, until the crisis is over with. What the hell is wrong with America? Most countries are giving their people 75%, at least 75% of what they were making on their job. Not half, hoping to get a supplement on top of it if it passed the House and Senate. Currently, right now, we are working to get 10 paid time off, 10 days for personal time off. We've been successful getting 5 paid sick days in New York City. Now, that's not everywhere, but it is in New York City. This year it goes up to 7 paid sick days. So you get 1 week of paid sick leave. Now, what companies going to try to do is they're going to try to say, you got 1 week of paid sick leave. We can take 1 week of vacation out of your tenure. So you work on a job for 6 years, 10 years, and you got 4 months vacation. They can literally right now say, no, you got 3 weeks of vacation. Your 4th week of vacation is going to come out in sick days. Now, currently at the airport, companies like Ulan of America, Butthole Company, Jerks Idiots, they're forcing their workers to take their vacation out of their sick time. People need a vacation, and they don't need to dip into their sick time to get that done. Sick time is supposed to be when you're sick. We need to pass laws to stop them from doing that. Now, we're moving it to 7 paid sick days a year for anybody that works in the city of New York, 5 boroughs and 2 Westchester County and the other county. I can't think of it right now. Nassau County. If you're working at the airport, you're going to get the Healthy Terminal Act has passed the Assembly. It has gone on the desk of Governor Cuomo. Now, what normally happens is Governor Cuomo, he's not as vicious as Mitch McConnell. He lets bills stay on his desk and collect dust. Mitch McConnell kills them. For an example, the ability to up to date to change affiliation or to sign up for your political party sat on Governor Cuomo's desk for 5 years, and he finally decided to sign it because of public pressure and because they really wanted to beat Trump. So he signed it. Medicare for All in New York City sits on the desk of Governor Cuomo's right now, and he don't have enough pressure on him right now to sign it, and we need to change that. Now, we'll talk about Nancy Pelosi, we'll talk about Mitch McConnell soon, but we're talking about Governor Cuomo, the one who wants to be president, the one who everybody held as governor, the one who everybody said, I wish he was running against Trump because of his step-by-step, easy, simple template of defeating COVID. We need to pressure Cuomo to stop these companies from utilizing people's paid sick days as vacation days, number one. Number two, I don't care what part of the country you're in, you need to support this paid time off legislation we're trying to push. I think it's in the city council right now. I think the city councilmen are pushing it. I think the president of the city council is pushing this. I think every president in each borough is pushing this. But we need to get them to sign it. Mayor de Blasio wife say Mayor de Blasio will sign it once it get on his desk. 10 paid time off on top of the 1 week sick day. Not waiting on Cuomo. Cuomo need to make this statewide, but we're talking about New York City. So now you got the ability to have 7 paid days off and 10 paid days off and 17 days off from your job. And there still need to be a law to say that your company cannot use that as vacation time. Those times are times where you need an extra sick day or slick day. Or I'm sick and tired of looking at your face day. Because sometimes you got to get away from a ignorant, harassing, badgering boss. or a co-worker or a supervisor. Sometimes you're going to need that extra day to diffuse. You're going to need that extra day to take your child to school or to the doctor. You're going to need those days. And I encourage everybody, I don't care what part of the country you are, call Governor Cuomo to enact this statewide. Now, he's supposed to be running for president. I guarantee he's going to run for president in 2021. Kamala Harris ain't going to be the choice of the Democratic Party. Mark my word. And he's going to run on a template. And this will give him a template to run on. Now, the Senate bill talked about that Healthy Terminal Act. These are the co-sponsors: Joseph P. Abadou Jr., Jamal T. Bailey, Neil D. Breslin, and Brian A. Benjamin. These people co-sponsored this law. Okay? It basically gives airport workers the ability to get health care. No cost to them. Let me read it for you. The people of the state of New York represent in the city assembly do not enact as following. Section 1, this act should be known and may be cited as the Healthy Terminal Act. The article heading of the Article 9 of the labor law, as added by Chapter 777, good gracious, 777 chapters of the law of 1971, is amended to read as following. Prevailing wages for building service employees and covered airport workers. Subdivision 1, 4, and 8 of Section 230 of the Labor Law, Subdivision 1, as amended by Chapter 542 of the Laws of 1984, Subdivision 4, as amended by Chapter 678 of the Law of 2007. I know you guys don't understand all this crap. I don't either. And Subdivision 8, as added by Chapter 7 of the Law of 1971, are amended for 4 new subdivisions, blah, blah, blah. Building service employees or service employees means any person performing work in connection with the care or maintenance of an exists. Explanation matter in italics is new. Matter in brackets is old. So let's go over this. Open legislation comments facilitate discussion in New York State legislation. All comments are subject to moderation. All right, so the leader of pushing this legislation at the airport is 32BJ SEIU. Now, I work with 32BJ SEIU as a union organizer. Could be a better union, but one of the best unions out there, but could be better. You got a lot of shady leadership in that union. A lot of shady, and take the A off and put an E. Take the A off and put an I, because you got that kind of leadership too. New Jersey legislation, Black Caucus endorsed groundbreaking health care bill, Healthy Terminals Act. Now, let's take a look at the Healthy Terminal Act. Let me see if I can pull it up on the union's website. Excuse me, guys. I want to pull up the Healthy Terminal Act so you can see what it is. The New York State legislation is on the verge of making history with the first in-the-nation policy Healthy Terminal Act, which, if signed by Governor Cuomo, would provide life-saving health care benefits to airport workers, including predominantly Black and immigrant subcontracted airline workers, essential workers, including 32BJ airport workers who've gotten sick and died from COVID and other struggles with thousands of medical bills while the federal government fails to pass protection for frontline workers for the first time since the start of the pandemic. Frontline airport workers have cause for celebration and will come together to celebrate the hard-fought victory Wednesday, July 29th, JFK International Airport. Now, I was there at that particular rally, okay? So it's basically anybody that's doing work at the airport should be protected, should be covered medically. Now, I love it when I see that unions are getting contracts signed. Here's one I'm going to talk about later. In historic victory, New York City fast food workers become the first in the nation to win just cause protections. We're going to talk about that lately because that is big. Because a lot of fast food workers don't fall under just cause. We'll talk about that later. New York State passes Healthy Terminal Act. So it passed the Assembly. And it's been sitting on Governor Cuomo's desk since July 22nd. These are some of the provision. A key priority for workers' group lobbying for the legislation was to have a prevailing wage for covered airport workers. If the governor signs the bill, the fiscal officer, usually the comptroller of the city, will determine the prevailing wage every September 1st, beginning 2021, for the various classes of covered airport workers in the locality. Wage including the basic hourly cash rate of pay. Now, understand right now, the minimum wage is $16.25, I believe, at the airport. And by 2023, 2 years from now, the minimum wage will be $19. But this particular policy will add more money on top of that. The basic hourly cash rate of pay and supplemental benefits rate for fringe benefits include medical or hospital care, pension or retirement or death compensation for injuries or illness resulting from occupational activity, unemployment benefits, life insurance, disability and sickness insurance, accidents insurance, and other bona fide fringe benefits not otherwise required by federal, state, or local law to be provided by the covered airport employer. The obligation to pay prevailing supplements may be discharged by furnishing any equivalent combination of fringe benefits or by making equivalent of differential pay in cash under the fiscal officer's rule or regulation. I guess they're saying that if you can beat what we're doing, then you ain't got to pay this. But if you're going to do something, you got to beat what we're doing right now. Overtime. The bill amends the existing prevailing wage for building service employees law to include covered airport employers, covered airport workers. Pursuant to this amendment, covered airport workers will be entitled to overtime at a rate not less than 1.5 times the prevailing basic cash hourly rate for work of more than 8 hours in any one day or more than 40 hours in any other week. So this will protect overtime pay. A lot of people work at the airport, they want to make extra money, but oftentimes they try to keep everything minimum wage, or they try to keep everything under 35 so they can't qualify for the overtime. This deals with that. Covered airport employees, employers, and location. The act applies to covered airport employers, which is defined broadly to cover any entity employing any covered airport worker in an occupation, industry, trade, business, or service. However, it does not apply to a public agency. Notably, and although exclusion may come in through the regulatory rulemaking process if the bill is signed into law, the bill itself appears to cover air carriers and their employees. The bill itself also appears to cover private sector employees covered by collective bargaining agreement and does not explicitly allow for a waiver in collective bargaining agreements. In other words, this ain't going to bypass what you already agreed to. This is in addition. Covered airport workers include any person employed by a covered airport employer to perform work at a covered airport location, provided at least one half of the employee's time during any work week is performed at a covered airport location. It does not include any person employed in an executive, administrative, or professional capacity as defined under the United States Fair Labor Standards Act. Furthermore, it does not include any employees covered under the Public Work and Grade Crossing Elimination Work article of New York labor's law. So if you are in management, or if you're like a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that at the airport, you may be exempt from this. But this is basically all airport workers. All airport workers. Finally, a covered airport airport location are the airports within the state operating under the jurisdiction of Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. This currently includes JFK, LaGuardia, and New York Stewart International. Other requirements. The bill contains extensive record-keeping requirements associated with the calculation of the prevailing wage. It also includes various contracting-related language requirements. Here's the employer takeaway. Assuming that Governor Cuomo signs the bill, it is imperative for employers with air terminal operations to consider how this act will impact them. Employers should carefully consider whether they can avail themselves of various federal and state constitutional and preemptives of others' defense. So to recap again, this passed the Assembly in New York. It went on Governor Cuomo's desk about July. I told you, Cuomo is a little bit different from Mitch McConnell. Bills come to his desk to collect dust. Mitch McConnell kills them. Medicare for all is on his desk right now. Marijuana legislation is on his desk right now. These are things that's already been passed by the Assembly that Cuomo has yet to sign. And until he's pressured publicly, he ain't going to sign it. So all these unions and all these union workers and all these union leadership, especially the leadership, you need to stop kissing his behind and put the pressure on him so he can take the dust off those bills and sign the freaking bill. Now, look. Airport workers rally at LaGuardia seeking benefits through the Healthy Terminal Act. Rally away. I'm all for rallies. I do rallies. I done worn out shoes during rallies. I've rallied all across the country. You name it, Philly, Texas, you name it. I'm a rally guy. I'm a marching guy. Yeah, I chain my hand up to something where it's going to be hard for them to take me to jail. I'm that dude. But that is only enough. You need to turn your heat on a person. See, that's when you're trying to get the public opinion on your side. But right now, Governor Cuomo, the bill has been passed with the Assembly. Universal health care, or Medicare for all, passed the Assembly. Marijuana legislation passed the Assembly. This passed the Assembly. Now, what happened recently, New York airport workers celebrate signing of Healthy Terminal Act. So on January 1st, a new law enacted on New Year's Eve gives airport workers in the Empire State access to much needed health care benefits during the coronavirus crisis and beyond. This is bigger than coronavirus. Governor Cuomo signed the long-stalled Healthy Terminal Act. Now, why is it called the long-stalled Healthy Terminal Act? Because Governor Cuomo stalled it long. But he finally signed it. A measure proponent said will provide as many as 12,000 cabin and terminal cleaners, baggage handlers, security officers, wheelchair attendants, subcontract workers at New York Airport with access to affordable quality health insurance. Now, again, we need to move from affordable to no cost. We need to move from affordable to no cost. Sitting right next, this Healthy Terminal Act probably sat right next to Medicare for All for New Yorkers. He chose to make this law instead of Medicare for All. Now, don't get me wrong. I am so happy he did push some kind of legislation to give. Look, I've talked as a union organizer. I've talked to many workers who job screwed them on health care and job fired them because of health care and all that kind of stuff. And then we got to fight for them to get their job back. I've been there and I've done that. I got lists. I still got paperwork in my photo on my bookshelf of people who had to deal with situations like this where they needed to take 2 days off because the doctor told them, and they got the medical paperwork and it still was not enough for the boss. The boss still wrote them up. And then on top of that, you still got to pay for this and you got to pay for that. You can't afford it. It's just a whole bunch of mess. Don't get me wrong. This is a big deal. But just like Obamacare, it could go further. Right now, Governor Cuomo has on his desk Medicare for All for New Yorkers. There's no need to push it for a floor vote like they're doing in Washington, D.C. with Nancy Pelosi pressuring people like AOC and all these guys, the squad, to put the pressure on Nancy Pelosi to put Medicare for All to a floor vote, or you don't get my endorsement as Speaker of the House. Which I heard Cory Bush didn't endorse it just now. They voted on it. It passed. And Cuomo haven't signed it yet. What kind of crap is that? What kind of crap is that where Cuomo did not sign it yet? Now, don't get me wrong. This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. Here's SEIU website. I encourage you to go ahead and sign in and tell them Bob TV sent you here. Like I said, it's one of the best unions, but they still got some problems just like any other union. You got some jerky leadership, especially in the organizing department. Bunch of, I can name names. That really don't take time to invest in their organizers. They use people for their own personal gain and throw them to the side, and I'm going to push back on this as much as I can. Thank you, Governor Cuomo, for signing the Healthy Terminal Act into law, a landmark bill which will provide access to quality, affordable health care for the frontline essential workers. Now, this is all good. Now, look what I'm about to put up here. Excuse my typo, but I said that is all good. Yes. 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 But Governor Cuomo, Governor, Medicare for all New Yorkers is on your desk too. And see, this doggone thing getting in my nerves, man. I don't need you. Now, you probably said, Robert, what does that matter? Here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is why I'm putting this here. Airport workers get laid off. They can't participate in the Healthy Terminal Act. This only goes for people who are maybe collecting unemployment. See, when I left 32BJ, I had to the end of the month to get health care. I can't get health care being in furloughed. I can't get health care being laid off. I can't get health care being fired. You got a lot of people work at the airport that get fired. And this is just going to up the ante when it comes to people getting fired. I'm happy that Governor Cuomo did something right. He pushed the registration date to register as a Democrat up to make it easier for people to make a decision on who they want to support, so they can have some debates and things like that, so it can make you decide whether you want to vote for this person or not, instead of pushing it early where you haven't really heard the other person's side, the other person's vision for America, to be able to buy into it. There's been a plot that has been exposed, and now they changed that. I'm so happy that we're now in New York 7 days sick paid days, paid sick days off. So you need to take a day off. Don't worry about it. You won't miss a day of pay. And don't worry about it. It's not restricted to just being sick, but sometimes you're going to take a day off because you're sick and tired of your boss man or somebody like that, or you just need a break, or the customers getting to you, or whatever. Glad we got that. Thank you, de Blasio. Thank you, Cuomo. Most America don't have that. I'm glad right now 10 PTO days sits in the city council. I think it's past the city council. It's probably sitting on Mayor de Blasio's desk right now, and he's doing something. He's letting it collect dust instead of signing it. Now, he's not going to go to Mitch McConnell and say, forget it, it'll never happen. But he's ignoring the bill and not having not signed that. This brings me to Cuomo. Glad. The airport workers deserve to be protected with health care. And they shouldn't be able to have low cost. They should have no cost health care. But you're making it low cost, affordable. Okay, I get it. And I celebrate that. It passed, the governor signed it. It is law. It go into effect right now. Everybody at the airport at JFK, LaGuardia, and EWR has health care. But it's still low cost. Meaning there's still a cost. And sitting on his desk right now, that's been sitting on his desk way before the Healthy Terminal Act, was Medicare for all New Yorkers. I'm not even going to mention marijuana legislation and all that kind of stuff, but Medicare for all. You're quick to pass gay rights legislation, and you didn't do it because it was the right thing to do. You did it because it was a moneymaker. But you're going to hold off bills that's going to save the people money. And you're only going to push bills that's going to make people money. You're pushing this Healthy Terminal Act because it brings a certain segment of society to the insurance industry that's involved with the Healthy Terminal Act. Like I said, the Healthy Terminal Act does provide added protection and benefits to workers at the airport, and they do need it. But what happens if they get fired, and they always get fired, and they always lose their job, and as a union worker, we have to try to fight for that job and find reasons to try to bring them back. which we rather not do. We want people to stay on a job for a long term. And the only time people stay on the job for long term is benefits. I don't have to worry about sick. I got 7 sick days. I got 10 PTO days. There's a law where the boss man cannot force them, that the boss man can continue to give me vacation time and not force me to take my vacation out of my sick days or my PTO days. Then again, there's a lot of jobs that don't even offer vacation, and they don't have to. This fills in that gap just in case. And now we got a Healthy Terminal Act that will look out for healthcare work or look out for airport workers. But it's not enough, and I'm sad to tell you, it's great, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. Right? Sitting right next to the Healthy Terminal Act when Governor Cuomo signed it is Medicare for all New Yorkers. That should have been the thing. He should have looked at the Healthy Terminal Act and said, look, this is good, but I got something better. I'm going to make sure all New Yorkers have Medicare for all. So if you got fired from the airport, if you got fired from the mall, if you got laid off and the people in the restaurant industry struggling because they can't pay their insurance bill because they don't have a business no more, if you give the people Medicare for all, it comes out of our taxes anyway. There's certain things we can shave off that we're paying for right now that we shouldn't be paying for, like all this foreign aid to pay for it. And that's nationally, not talking about New York. Heck, you could put a toll up that'll pay for it for the state, and I'm quite sure most people would not mind going through that toll. There's many ways to pay for it in New York. Pass marijuana legislation, and you can pay for Medicare for all. In other words, I'm happy that he did pass the Healthy Terminal Act, but that's the punk way out. That's the cheap way out, when on the same desk was Medicare for all. You talking about the lesser of two evils? That's just. And he's stepping over dollars to get the pennies. Yeah, Governor Cuomo did right by you and airport workers, but it wasn't enough. You deserve health care. You deserve Medicare for all. You deserve something that's going to take care of you on your job, where you don't have to worry about the bureaucracy. Don't get me wrong. The fight for the Healthy Terminal Act was a good act, but him doing this and not offering Medicare for all when it's sitting on his desk, there is no force to vote for it. They already done voted for it. They already done passed it in the assembly. It's sitting on his desk, and he refused to sign it. But he'll sign the Healthy Terminal Act. In other words, he want to force everybody to look at the airport industry and the airline industry to go work there, which is fine. I don't mind that. $19 an hour, minimum wage, low-cost health care. No, how about $19 an hour and making sure everybody in the United States get health care? How about making sure every New Yorker get health care? Anyway, I'm going to talk about a couple more other things another day. But this segment of the Rob Report and the announcement of the Healthy Terminal Act win for 32BJ and TW and all airport workers, not everywhere, not all over the country, just in these 3 airports. It should be for every airport. But what we did was we went directly to Port Authority, who owns the airport, and took the fight to them, bypassing the middleman of every airline industry. Now what we need to do is go back and make sure that they force. We find some way to always bypass the middleman to get things done for the workers. And the strategy is good at 32BJ. You want to give those workers 14 days off? We'll pass a law to give them 10 days off. We'll pass a law to give them 7 days paid sick time. We'll pass a law where you can't use that. You can't determine to them how to use it. Only they do. But when you're doing fights like that, make sure they're smart, intelligent fights. Everybody excited about healthcare, the Healthy Terminal Act, and I'm excited too. But there's a limit, because I realize it's low cost, which means it's still going to cost people money. In most foreign countries, they have health care, even the ones we send in aid to. They have no cost health care, no cost education. We should have that. We should never have to worry about lobbying for a Healthy Terminal Act in the first place. But the reason we did is because this country would not offer their people Medicare for all. And the reason we did it in New York is because the governor and the mayor is really not pushing Medicare for all. Because if he believed in it, he would have signed it. It's on his desk. So right now, force the vote, hashtag force the vote. Make sure that Nancy Pelosi bring Medicare for all to a floor vote so we can weed the weak from the strong and all that kind of stuff, and send a signal, because you never know who wants to say, I don't support health care for Americans in a pandemic. Do that. But we did that here in New York, and guess what? We passed it, and it sits on the governor's desk right now, and Governor Cuomo is too much of a punk to sign it because he want to make sure he keep his health care insurance buddies into office, into business. Well, bro, it's time for them to go. Now, get your celebration on about the Healthy Terminal Act, but in the next 90 days, TWU, next 90 days, CWU, next 90 days, Unite Here, SEIU, 1199, 32BJ, Nurse United, it doesn't matter. You need to go back to the drawing board and get in the face of the governor and make sure he push Medicare for all. Because a lot of your union members are going to get fired, they're going to lose their job, and guess what? They can't take their health care with them. There's no need to develop anything. Medicare for all gives them the ability to always be able to get health care no matter what, whether they're working or not, whether they're in a gig economy or not, whether they're a Uber driver, whatever. They still get health care. Get your celebration on this Healthy Terminal Act, and celebrate the negotiation that you did to get health care into your contract. But understand this, a lot of your workers are not going to end up, you can't keep 100% of your workers. Something happens where they end up gone. We can't be selfish about that. We should never have to negotiate for health care. Never. It's an American right. Now I'm done. I'm going to let this go. But the more I think about it, the more I get pissed off that the Healthy Terminal Act may be a good thing. And believe me, it's good for the airport workers. But Medicare for all New Yorkers is even goodier, greater, better. And it's time for, get your little celebration on for the next 90 days. But after the next 90 days, y'all need to push that campaign hard, because you got a lot. Listen here, 32BJ. You got a lot of workers outside of the airport. They need the same thing. And they don't need low cost. And the easiest way to do it is you turn the pressure back on Governor Cuomo. If every union here in New York City turned the pressure on Cuomo and tell him you can forget about my endorsement for president or whatever you got planned, if you don't put that Medicare for all and sign it, get it off your desk, blow the dust off, and sign that, you're getting nothing from none of us unions anymore. Problem is, we got too many kiss butt union organizers trying to get a job in politics, and they too much of a punk to do it. You're weak, you're feckless, and and you look at me, because I didn't get me being brand new, didn't get a bunch of people to go out and strike. Really? You got workers out there you're using to get people to go out there and strike or sign this and that to benefit you, but you don't want to do anything to benefit the person who's going out there to benefit the people that you're supposed to be lobbying to join the union. This is why people dub me the voice of working people. Because whether I work in the union or not, I'm going to always be fighting for working people. I'm going to always be finding ways to better working people. If I could find a way to get them ability to purchase land, I'm going to let working people know you need to buy some land. If I tell them, look, this business will help you make some extra money on the side, I'm going to tell them about a business that will help them make extra money to the side. If I could tell them about a health benefit or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever can enhance working people, that's what I'm here to do. And right now, Healthy Terminal Act ain't going to help people outside the airport. Matter of fact, it's not even enough for people in the airport. Medicare for all will get it done. So unions get it done. Healthy Terminal Act is not a proud achievement. Medicare for all is sitting on the governor's desk. You want a proud achievement? Bust his behind to get it done. Or reject him going forward. All right, Brian, with Union Power, I'll holler at you later. Peace.